Oh, okay. Check.
Are you back?
Huh?
Are we back? Am I on? Are
we
are
on.
Good morning. Okay.
I told you were on. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. Good morning.
Good morning to you, beloved child. Good morning.
Yes.
I had to cut the music fast. Good morning, Shannon. Good morning to the guest of Capri Cares. Know that I care that I know. We have Lady Dawn Marie Morris on with us, who is the proud CEO, proprietor, entrepreneur, kingdompreneur of the world-class training.net, where all your world-class, where your training, personal, and executive coaching needs can be met. And
Absolutely.
You got your shirt on.
Let me sit back a little bit so that, yes,
everybody can see that we're ready to soar in 2024.
We are ready to soar in 2024. Yes.
Wonderful.
How are you this morning?
Well, first of all, I don't know what had just happened. What did that mean?
What?
Oh. Did you send me something?
I just put something on my side, this flyer. Did that show up on your side?
Okay.
But it's in the background.
I got it. So
but you see it? Okay.
What has just happened to everybody, Shandeka, Shannon, I think you can share it on it's on your page.
I did. I shared it on my page and I shared it to YouTube. I just found out I could do that.
Yeah. So it's on your YouTube page. Well, anyway, y'all, listen, the gift of me, the gift of you and all of us know that sometimes in our giftedness, we're not always right. Yeah. We don't always do things right. We don't always meet the standard or live up to somebody else's expectation, and that's okay. But we are learning now in this particular season and space that there are places and times where we just need a reprieve. And today we're going to have a little conversation, and a great conversation, and a major conversation, first and foremost, around the gift of us. And then we're going to talk about Harvard's president. I'm going to call her America's favorite auntie for right now. She's America's favorite auntie. Y'all know Harvard's president was Black. And for the first time in my life, I'm going to be honest, Don, for the first time in my life, I knew who Harvard's president was.
Isn't that
honestly?
And that's so true. That's so true. Oh my goodness, that's such an amazing statement you just made, because I didn't think about it like that. But yes, I knew who Harvard's president was too. And frankly, I looked it up, but I couldn't tell you the name of the person who is now the interim. So yeah, that's how significant that brief moment in our history is.
Yes. So tell us, first of all, before we get into this Harvard situation, Dr. Gay, tell us what SOAR 2024 is all about. And everybody who's coming in the chat, put in SOAR 2024. SOAR 2024. Tell us what SOAR is all about.
2024. Absolutely. So it's always a pleasure to be in your space, Dr. Hill. You know, we get to share time at least once a month, and now we have a bonus this week. So thank you first for having me on the show. Free to Soar was originally a program that we did at the end of last year, and SOAR as a mantra for this year is this idea of igniting certain pieces of us so that we can get the best of us out of this year. So S is synergize, and synergizing meaning forming the right relationships, not just connecting to connect, but being intentional about having the right relationships so that we can grow. And like I was sharing a couple of weeks ago, I said we want that to be organic in nature. We don't want to, I believe in the authenticity of relationships, just like how you and I met. God is going to put the right people in your space, and you don't have to, I'm not into that. Hey, let me just connect to that person just so I can get from them. So we want to feed as we are eating, and we want to be able to give as we're receiving from others. So that's that idea of synergizing. Optimize is the O. Optimize means figure out where we are. What is our current state? What is our desired future state? And then what steps do we need to implement in order to optimize, or as I said, go from good to great or great to outstanding. A is agitate. Uh, we have to be comfortable getting uncomfortable if we are to grow. So we have got to resist the propensity to be stagnant in our lives. And it requires us to agitate some things. What am I going to have to shake up? And it could be from a relationship standpoint. It could be from just me wanting to sleep late. Like I used to be on the phone. I was just telling a friend of mine yesterday. I said, I was on the phones and I was noticing when I was trying to go to sleep, I couldn't do that. So I said, I have to put the phone away so that I can sleep and get up early. So yes, so that's agitate. Figure out what you got to shake up in order to get where you need to go. And then the last piece is reimagine. And the best ideas come from us looking at what something is and thinking about what it can be. And that reimagining space can be absolutely invigorating, because you do end up getting out of your comfort zone. And then when you look on the other side of that, you're like, oh my goodness, that actually was a good thing. And even Free to Soar came out of that reimagining. I didn't want to wait until January to do a vision board and have a vision board party, which I've done before. I said, you know what? Let's start before the year. So we started that in November. In fact, Tammy Holmes, if she's on today, was a part of our Free to Soar program. And we met for 4 weeks. And we're intentional. We wrote our vision plans. We set up we talked about our financials. We spent some time talking about what we needed to shed. And then we talked about how to survive the storms in our lives. So it was an amazing 4 weeks. And that was the pregame show for this year.
So you said a lot.
T-shirt if you like. I cut mine up, but you can. We got T-shirts, we got calendars. I forgot to say that. We got calendars, Free to Soar calendars, journals, whatever you need to stay reminded that you want to soar in 2024.
As you talked about soaring in 2024, I thank everybody for putting that in the chat, soar in 2024. For those who didn't get the live class, is there any way possible we can go back and receive those services and that product virtually and digitally?
Well, that product, no. That product was for that period of time. But what you can do is, if you desire to be coached, I offer executive coaching, and we can talk about where you are and where you want to be, and how you can optimize your life in this year, and how you can maybe form different relationships. I'm certified in emotional intelligence. So if you want to talk through and get a complete emotional intelligence assessment to figure out how you are dealing and handling people, I can do all of that for you as well. Yes. So there are opportunities to soar.
There are opportunities to soar.
There are opportunities, yes.
You talked about eating and feeding and eating. I don't know if you even mentioned what you said about feeding and eating. If even when you're eating, you have to feed and eating. Could you kind of unpack that concept? Because, and I'll say this, a lot of times when you talk about soaring and building relationships, we are not eating, or what we're eating does not sustain us.
Oh, that's called empty calories.
Angela.
But you know what? And to your point, yes. I mean, when we think about what we're ingesting in our bodies, the fun things to eat are, ice cream and cake and all of these empty calories. Snicker bars, they serve a moment of satisfaction and satiation, but they're not long term, and they don't serve us well in terms of our ultimate health. It's the same thing for when you are eating the wrong things from people. It can be fun to hang out, and I like to hang out and have a good time. And there is a time for that. There's a time, like we had brownies the other day that were delicious. Yeah. And that's a moment, but it's not something that we're going to do every day. And so it's the same thing that we have to think about in terms of our relationships. Some of our relationships are the relationships where, yes, that's the place where I'm going to be able to have a good time. I'm going to be able to laugh and enjoy myself. But I also have to balance that with people who are feeding us in a way that is going to grow us from a mental standpoint, from a career standpoint, from a business standpoint. If we're in business, just like you and I always talk, we say whenever we talk, it goes like almost an hour, because and again, organically, because you're feeding into me and hopefully I'm feeding into you. And then our whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts, which is actually the definition of synergy. Oh, yes.
Wow, that's good. And we'll come back to that later.
Yes.
All right, folks. Monday is coming. Oh, that's in February. I was thinking about
President's Day. We have another one, but yeah, this one we had a little while for. But this is a part of the World Class Training Institute, which is why we're gonna
got you. And I'll come back to that. Yeah, listen, you talked about those individuals who feed us. Dacre comes in and says, iron does sharpen iron.
Yes.
You talked about empty calories. Hey, Tangela, again from Florida.
Hey, Tangela.
Listen, I'm not sure. As I've grown.
Yes.
You talked about fun foods, and we're going to get to our subject in a second.
Yes.
Hello, watching from Lagos, Nigeria.
How are you? Doing, nice.
Shout out to you, sir. If you would love to be on the show, inbox us. We'll get you on. And if you would love these world-class training services, sir, you're more than welcome to email Don.
Yes, we should put that in the chat.
And we'll get back with you. You talked about empty calories, and as you grow, those fun foods no longer become really they're not that fun anymore.
No, they're not. No, they're not. Just think about, like, if we were to sit there and we would have eaten a whole pan of brownies, we'd have been like, oh my goodness, this is horrible. Our stomachs wouldn't have been feeling good. And of course our weight would have been off, or our sugar, all of that. So yes, when you do too much of that, it has a negative impact. And it's the same thing again, when we're taking in the wrong spirits and we're taking in the wrong people in our lives, too much of it, and it has a negative impact. We have to be mindful of that. And I had some friends, and I'm going to call them friends. And I said to my son one day, I said, you know what? They haven't done anything wrong. They just may not be right for me. And so I got to make some adjustments. And the adjustment didn't mean that I had to have a long conversation with them. It just meant that I stopped communicating at length and lessened the time that I spent so that I could readjust it and put my energies in the right space so that I could grow in the way that that was best for me. Because at the end of the day, we got to put the oxygen masks on ourselves first. We can't free anybody if we're not free ourselves.
Now, everybody, I heard something.
Yes,
they might have not done anything wrong.
Right. Correct.
But they just might not be right for me.
That's correct. Exactly.
Now, that is a whole word, as you say. They might not have done anything wrong.
Yes.
They do. Yeah. Right. Have something. Yeah, that's good.
And that's where we waste. Exactly. Because that's where a lot of time gets wasted, because that person, that's right. Shandika, yeah. Shandika. Yes, we have to balance relationships. Absolutely. And we have to be confident enough in ourselves and what we are feeling to say, yeah, this person, just because they didn't do the most doesn't mean they're not doing the most for me. which means like just because they didn't steal from me or they didn't curse me out, I'm just looking like I have another friend in Chicago. He calls me sometimes and he's not doing anything wrong, but it's just like, is this conversation life-giving? It's not. So I have my watch going and I limit the time that I give to that conversation, because the one thing that I can't get back is
It's
the minute
time.
I spend. That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. Now, you said doing the most, and I just put that down as a hashtag. In the event
Yes.
that what you're doing is the most, and that most keeps me out of rhythm and imbalance, what adaptations, because we talked about that on the other day in our pregame, what adaptations are necessary for me to get back in balance?
That's where that agitate comes in, that A for soar.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to see, like I was giving that analogy the other day about the whole milk and the chocolate milk that's sitting at the bottom. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the chocolate milk that's sitting at the bottom and I got to stir up in order to get something better? So we have to always assess what's happening, what we want, and then filling the gap with the adjustment so that we can get to what we want. And understanding that it takes time. What's that scripture? Patience. About patience.
Patience is a virtue.
Is a virtue.
Yeah. And let patience have her perfect work in you, that you may be complete and entire, wanting nothing. The book of James.
Absolutely.
Let me pause. We have not done anything as it relates to sponsorship in your programs, and we have not gotten into our show. But for this individual, Juliana Allen 3, I'm not good on Twitch. So you're going to have to like inbox me on Twitch and tell me how this stuff on Twitch works. Let me say that. Let me pause and say that this show is brought to you by the worldclasstraining.net for all your training, personal and professional and executive coaching needs. Go to worldclasstraining.net. Don, I know you put that in the chat, but will you put that on this public chat so people can get a hold of you? Secondly, this show is brought to you by the Ephesian Premier Baptist Church, 1506 22nd Avenue, North Nashville, Tennessee, 37208. This show is brought to you by Trifold Outreach Ministries. That's Trifold Outreach Ministries. This show is brought to you by. There you go. Boom. That's the worldclasstraining.net. But the show is brought to you by.
I didn't spell it right. Take that down. I'm sorry.
Oh, you didn't spell it right. Okay, boom. The show is brought to you by Divine Drips, Torsha Hudson, Divine Drips. We're grateful for our wonderful sponsors. So, Don, we're talking about what we're talking about, your services that you offer. Tell us about your services, because April Fitzgerald says you have to learn your healthy capacity. She wants to soar in 2024. S stands for something, O stands for something, A and R. Give us a review, and then how can she connect with you personally, possibly for some personal development?
Absolutely. So again, S is synergize, relationships. O is optimize. A is agitate, and R is reimagine. The World Class Training Institute exists to maximize our greatest resource, which is human capital. And we do that through the delivery of leadership and professional development training. So anything to help you be better is in our wheelhouse. Some of those programs are time management, systems thinking, personality assessments through something called DISC, emotional intelligence training, executive coaching. We have a full leadership program called Intentional Leadership. That's a 6-week cohort. If you're a part of an organization or a leader in an organization and you want to help grow your leaders, that one is perfect for that. And then we also offer individual executive coaching, where we start with looking at who you are and where you are from an emotional intelligence standpoint. You receive a 14-page complete assessment, and then we walk through things to help you optimize. And then also, I'm a personal trainer. So my other fun part of this business is doing fitness training, because if you're not good from a health standpoint, you still won't be able to do what you need to do. So we focus on that as well. So I do personal training, and in the summertime, we do something called the DS60 summer program, which is 30 minutes of dance, 30 minutes of strength training, so that you can be a whole better self. So yeah, those are our primary programs. Yes, yes.
And give it a shout out.
Yes.
Give it a shout out now. So everybody who would love those services, we want you to go to worldclasstraining.net.
Yes.
She has books. Do you have your books beside you?
I do not. Do not. Okay. But yes, so yes, we also have books. We have Unpacking AGAPE, which is now a year old, which is the 7 languages of intentional leadership, and talks about language as behavior. And then we have our first book, and since Black History Month is coming up, this is a great one as well. It's called What Would Barack Do? Inspiring Presidential Tools for the Leader in You. And that one provides you with leadership principles based around how President Obama led his candidacy and subsequent presidency, and how you can use those tools as you lead yourselves and lead others.
Got you. So soar in 2024. Yes, we're going to soar in 2024.
Yes.
We have the tools and the tactics and the temperament to soar in 2024. And I'm so grateful for that. Shifting gears, we say good morning to everybody.
Good morning.
Its input is learning a healthy capacity. I need everybody to put in the chat, soar in 2024, if you have not done that.
Yes.
I also need you to like and share. Thank you, Renetta, for coming in. Renetta, are you on the Ephesian page or my personal page? Let me know. For those individuals who have come in, thank you for that. Thank you, YouTube audience. Thank you, Twitch audience. Even for the Twitch people who have come in, thank you, Juliana. I appreciate you for being here. Now, let's shift gears as leaders.
Yes.
Interesting enough, Harvard, for the first time in my knowing, I didn't say that this is an absolute truth. For the first time in my knowing, I actually knew who Harvard's president was. I never thought about it, never took time to think about who is Harvard's president.
Right.
Come to find out, Harvard's president was an African-American female.
Right.
So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for her being who she is and the contribution she's made. Good morning, Rondia. Oh, I'm sorry, Renata. I don't know what's going on with this thing. But anyway, she made a big mistake. And sometimes as people, we make mistakes. I think she made a mistake. And I attribute to what she did to her preparation, possibly the people around her, because I know she's much more intelligent than what she demonstrated in that moment. And sometimes the pressure of life, when the pressure gets to cooking, sometimes we have a come apart and fall apart. So can you unpack that from where you stood and where you stand as a leader when the pressure and the heat is on, how we fall apart sometimes?
Oh my goodness. Well, so you came from a little different angle there. How you fall apart as a leader sometimes. First, I love you, but I'm gonna respectfully say that when you are a university president, falling apart when the question was so simple, that's not acceptable.
That's not acceptable.
That's not acceptable. Because the question, and I listened to the video a couple of times. She wasn't asked anything that was deep or that required research. She asked, if they are talking about killing the Jews, is that against the code of conduct? And to not directly answer the question, And B, not show your full support of your greatest resource, which is your human capital, was not something that at that level we can say is under the pressure, fell apart, it's okay type of situation, which is why I think the heat was at the level that it was on, as you say, Auntie Claudine, because and she's not alone, because the other presidents, also received heat from that. This was the thing that I was saying, Dr. Hill, to you, and why I wanted to really have this conversation, because as someone who's been in leadership and been a leadership expert for the number of years that I have, I emphasize that we can never replace policy for people. And that's
pause. Never replace policy for people.
That's correct.
When policy becomes greater than the people, the people are on the sacrificial end.
That's correct.
That's God.
What the third P, which is the problem, comes up. That's right. Exactly. And so that's what happened to Auntie Claudine. I'm not sure, as you and I talked about, I'm not sure who coached her on that, but if she was coached, there was bad coaching. If she just didn't know that she needs to stay focused on the people, and what she did was she wrote an op-ed letter in the New York Times post her resignation, where she said, I failed to let the students know that this was unacceptable. And she failed to communicate that in a way where it was clear and concise. And so she, I believe, recognizes now that that was the challenge. But to all leaders, you have to, yes, there are policies, there are things that are written in place, but you have to operate with the level of compassion where the people know that they are number one. Because there is no university if the people never enroll.
There's no university of the people that are never enrolled.
If the people don't enroll, do you have a university?
No, you're right. But that's the thing. It's like, okay, you making a what is the policy that needs to be communicated, even in our personal growth and development and my well-being? And it's all about Auntie Claudine, and we call her Auntie Claudine. And
yes,
she will bounce back from this. I know she didn't answer the question the way we wanted her to answer the question. I don't know what she was trying to communicate. I don't know that. And I think sometimes in leadership and life, what we're trying to communicate becomes challenging because we're not certain on what we're trying to communicate. We don't have a clear direction and focus on what we're trying to communicate. The question was simple. People should not ever be sacrificed. We don't stand in solidarity for genocide, homicide, all the other things.
Right.
But she dropped the ball. We dropped the ball.
Push what Shandeka just said up.
Which one?
Wanting to be accepted, because that's it. In her quest to, and that's what ends up becoming our downfall sometimes. We're so interested in wanting to be accepted that we don't stand on truth. If she just stood on truth, if I ask you right now, what is your name? You will have no problem telling me that it is Dr. Cornelius A. Hill, right? Because you're standing on truth. So if somebody asks you, is it wrong for the genocide of Jews, if you're standing on truth, you can never go wrong. What is your truth? And so that's where
standing on truth.
Standing on truth.
Now, when you talk about standing on truth, the universal ethical truth, because everybody talks about I'm living my truth. You know, this truth thing has gotten really muttered in this postmodern culture. Your truth is I want to do, I don't want to soar. I want to live at this level of mediocrity where I can play the victim because I don't want to stand on the truth and grow and develop and become. So
Right.
this standing on truth thing, when you say she should have just stood on the truth, and we know what the truth is, you know, you protect lives, you protect individuals, and we're all about protecting lives and individuals, and we believe in that. But standing on truth possibly puts you in uncomfortable situations.
Absolutely. That's why you have to be good agitating, because yes, it may get we're about to celebrate Martin Luther King Day on Monday, Dr. Martin Luther King Day. And what did he do? He stood on truth, and it got very uncomfortable. But that's where, again, the whole became greater than the sum of its parts, because he was willing to stand in an uncomfortable truth.
And standing in an uncomfortable truth, of course, separates you from the crew and the crowd, and that's what makes you the leader.
Absolutely.
Because you stand on truth. That's and you get to uncomfortable places. Right. And being a parent, being a leader, being a mom, being a dad, being a spouse, being a servant, it is going to be uncomfortable at times.
That's right. Exactly. It's going to be uncomfortable at times. That's right.
So as it grows to another level of uncomfortability, I start to synergize, working with those relationships.
Yes.
That I can feast off of.
Yes.
I need those relationships. So, you know, I'm trying to navigate to a place where I'm standing on a truth, but I don't want to stand on this truth alone because it's not good to be alone standing on truth. Even if you have to stand alone for a minute, you're going to need a relational component to help maximize your potential.
Right.
And I'm grateful for relationships that help me stand on truth and help me communicate the truth that I'm standing on.
Right.
In the event I'm in a relationship that I'm standing on that does not help me communicate the truth that I'm standing on, that's an unhealthy relationship.
That's right. Absolutely. And that's where you have to have the confidence and the courage to agitate. We have to have a conversation. And if we can't, and if the conversation doesn't lead to changed behavior, then we may have some uncomfortable decisions that we need to make.
Changed behavior? Did you just say that?
Yes, changed behavior. That's right. Yes. Yeah, Renetta said, if you don't stand for truth, you will fall for anything. Yes. Absolutely. To grow and walk in comfortability. That's right, Stacey Smith. That's right. You have to. And so that was the challenge that Dr. Gay, you know, I think that was the area where she did not understand that if she fed the people of Harvard University, she would continue to eat, because they would have then fed into her and supported her and what she said on Capitol Hill, because they felt like they had been starved in the moment where they were most hungry. They could not continue to feed her. It is reciprocal.
They felt like they had been starved.
That's correct.
April said, she said it. Change behavior. They felt like they had been starved. When I'm dealing with a relationship, when I'm in a seat, when I'm in a situation that is starving me, or I feel starved.
Yes.
I don't have many outlets for survival or sustainability. When I'm juggling starvation and sustainability, 2 words, starvation, Shannon, and being sustained. When I'm juggling starvation and sustainability, my options are limited. Let me just make that point.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe you can teach us as an executive coach when you're juggling starvation and sustainability.
Right.
I have limited options.
Right. But do you? Because we have to always know that everything we have is everything we need. Even if
everything we have is everything we need.
Exactly. And so sometimes we're too busy looking outside for this person and that person. All you have to do is look in the mirror and look to heaven. And you have everything you need. Because as we said on Tuesday's show, trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. So
the starvation part and being sustained. I'm just still stuck on that. Not to say what you're not saying is not valid and important and paramount and pertinent, because it is. But when you get put in that seat where you're starving, I don't know where she was emotionally. And I wish we could ask her, where were you emotionally when those questions were asked?
Right.
Like what happened to you so that you could not give clarity and you could not provide that safe answer? Like, what made you, I'm not saying we'll say clam up, but what happened in that moment? Where were you emotionally? And
go ahead.
To
be concerned with, or who was feeding you? Were you getting?
Just let me say that again.
Who was feeding you? Because if you were getting fed empty calories, that's why you didn't have enough sustenance to communicate in a way that moved the dial in the right direction.
There it is. That's what I was looking for. There's a possibility and a probability. I'm running off empty calories.
That's right. Exactly.
I've been eating. It's just the wrong thing.
That's correct.
And the power of death and life are in the tongue.
That's right.
If you keep reading it, you will be filled by those things.
That's right. Absolutely.
So there's a great possibility for me to soar in 2024. Thank you, Tangela. Who's feeding us?
Yes, that's right.
Who is feeding us?
That's
and then what are they feeding us?
Exactly. We have to protect our ear gates and our eye gates. I noticed that Dr. Gay was looking down several times at some notes or something as she was communicating back. So there was something that she had in front of her. But where are your eyes focused? On the wrong thing. I don't know. We don't have that answer. But again, if we're standing on truth, I don't have to read it. I don't have to read it. And most of America did not have to read anything to know that the question that she asked required a much different answer than what she gave.
What is asked and what we give, between the ask and the give, the feeding is important.
That's correct. Absolutely.
The synergy, strategizing is very important.
That's right. Because I can't give you anything that's not in my head. What my brain is filled with, what my heart is filled with, is what's going to be communicated. So,
I'm just chewing on the fact that, once again, starvation and sustainability.
Yes.
Feeding, what's being fed, who's feeding us. Stacy, that's good, Stacy. Let me put that on the chat. Stacy said, but it is who
is feeding us, or our inability to consume and I digest. That's the proper diet. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Our inability to consume and digest the proper diet. Yeah.
Wow. That's good. That's good, Stacy. I appreciate that, Stacey.
Yeah.
I really do.
Okay. I would even say, now, is it the inability or is it our unwillingness? Because it's back to,
add to that though. Just add to it. It's
inability and or unwillingness, because sometimes we just go in spaces where we know we shouldn't go and listen to people we know we shouldn't be listening to. So, yeah.
And the agenda, I'm gonna say this, and I'll use a personal illustration. Back in the early 90s, I don't know, Don, if y'all did this in Ohio, but
I was a baby back then, so I don't know if I can relate, but I'll try to get there.
Oh, that is so good. That is so good, y'all. That is so good.
Oh, yes, go ahead, sir.
What happened was this, Stacey. When I was very athletic and involved in athletics, talking about feeding, during the summer times in the South, anytime it's very hot and dry.
Yes.
So my junior high football coach used to give us salt tablets.
Okay.
Our blood pressure was probably 3,000 over 4,000 after those salt tablets. We used to take salt tablets for hydration and things because we had started back in pads.
Right.
Going back to who's feeding you and what they're feeding you. And I was bragging to my Uncle Mike, man, I'm taking these. He's like, Arnie, y'all got to drink a lot of water. I was like, we drink water, but we take salt tablets. He was like, salt tablets? Like, how many of those are you taking a day?
That's right. Yeah.
Because it's not that. It's what you're consuming on a daily basis after a while can become very unhealthy.
That's right. Yeah.
And you think you're preparing yourself to optimize human capital and resources.
Right.
But somewhere down the line, because you have this great intake of salt, your body is not going to respond the way you think it's going to respond in the moment you need it to respond because of your daily intake of salt. Not to knock my coach, not to knock anybody, but that just gave me a healthy perspective as to when you and I are digesting, Stacey, some things that could damage us in the long run.
Right.
We have to be very, very careful how we, where we, and when we eat, what we eat, from whom we eat from.
That's right. Exactly.
Because even though I'm going on record, I know he had a plan for us to be the best, and we won the championship. I'm grateful for that.
Sure.
But he didn't have to eat what we ate.
That's right.
Because he didn't have to perform at the level that we had to perform at. He had to perform because he was a coach. Right. So when you talk about eating and sustainability and starvation and now sickness and unwillingness and willingness and inabilities, we have to be very careful what we digest daily.
Absolutely. That's right.
Because in the event we get put in the seat where we're questioned, and even when we have to ask ourselves the tough questions, have I eaten the right things, or am I running on empty calories? And when it's time for me to present myself to be at my optimum level, I crash, I burn.
Right. That's right.
I don't I communicate the wrong thing. I communicate uncertainty.
Right.
So it's interesting. It's interesting. I just had to throw that in there. It just popped up. It's like that when you was a little girl. I'll put it in the chat. When you was a little girl. When you were a little girl. It's just interesting that we trust people whom we don't trust, whom we shouldn't trust, in places where we should be trusting God. And I'll say it better than this. Mike Murdoch says, you trust somebody that trusts somebody you don't trust.
Interesting. And
I don't know who Auntie Claudine was trusting that day.
Right.
I don't know why her notes were so trustworthy. I don't know how she got in that space. As intelligent as you are, when we talk, when the question was asked, why you, whatever your gut instinct or whatever your documented notes were, what were you trusting in that moment of sustainability?
What were you trusting? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. But again, when you know the truth, you don't have to worry about what you're trusting. You just have to walk in your truth. Again,
when you know
ask
the truth.
you what your name is. What's your name? I can ask you that 100 million times, and the answer will not change because you know the truth. It's the same thing. And they say when what you say is the truth, you never have to remember what you said.
That's good.
Same thing.
When what you say is the truth,
you never have to remember what you said.
That's good. When what you say is the truth, you never have to remember what you said. Exactly. Let's pause. Worldclasstraining.net. Talk to us about your services and your products again.
And I we are already what you offer. Oh my goodness. Can you believe we're at 40?
I know.
Oh, this has been great conversation. So we provide leadership and professional development. I do want to make 2 quick commercials if I can. I don't have the flyer for the first thing, but Martin Luther King Day is coming up, and I'm on the board of the Riley May Foundation in Chicago. And we have a Money Matters Monday coming up from Martin Luther King Day. So if you're looking into going into entrepreneurship, or if you are an entrepreneur and you want to make sure that your business house is in order, come to the MLK Money Matters Monday. It's a virtual workshop. You don't even have to leave the house. So if you're here in Nashville and it's supposed to be cold, stay in the house and level up so you can soar. And then the second thing I do have, can I show this? Okay. The second thing, yes. If you are selling anything, and most of us, you have to sell to grow. This one is called Sales Steps to Make Dead Presidents. If you want your money to grow, if you want to be in a position to communicate effectively so you can move the dial forward as you are building your careers. And even if you're, like I said, if you're in sales, if you want to go into business, the one thing that I found when I first started the World Class Training Institute was I know how to train, but if I don't sell it, if I don't convince people that this is what they should have, then the business is never going to grow. So I have 2 sales experts who are going to lead this virtual sales mastery experience. We already started selling tickets, and they're going, which is excellent. I was at a networking event yesterday and so on. So, but it's just $99. Bill McCleskey, who is right here in Nashville, and he's the founder of My Tech Partners. He grew it from 0 to now it's $1 million entity here. He is going to lead the discussion about the discipline of selling. And then EJ the Edge Bassetti, who is a master sales trainer, and he's the author of Practice What You Preach, is going to lead the piece on how to have conversation and communicate as you're selling to different business entities. So it's different when you're selling to consumers versus when you're selling business to business. What are the differences? How do you form your sales strategies? And he is going to talk about that. And then I'm moderating that discussion on President's Day, February the 19th at 9:30 a.m. So that's at worldclasstraining.net. /S as in Sam, ELL. So I just wanted to share that with everyone as well. And I'll put that in the chat also. So
did you send me that as an email?
I will. No, I did not. I did not, but I will.
What did you do to put it on the screen?
Put it in as my PDF. And I guess because I also have StreamYard, I was able to do it.
Oh, that's right, because it got you.
Yes.
Listen, y'all, we're stuck. We're struggling between survival and sustainability. Yes. And it's all about what you eat and what you trust.
Yes.
And let me be facetious. My grandmama always says, what makes a broke man sleep so sound? Because he had nothing when he first laid down. Oh. I used to... And this is about, and I'm just, saying that to just generate some conversation around that thought. But when you're talking about, standing on truth and making sure we understand the right truth and the truth that we should be standing on.
Yes.
And how you and I can get to a place where maybe we don't freeze. We don't have to freeze when we understand truth.
Right.
I don't know what Auntie Claudine was thinking. I just don't know what she was feeling like. Girl, the question to me was simple.
Right.
Knowing that you represent institutions, one of the greatest in the world, and ethically, the answer was a no-brainer to us. But for some reason, something so simple became a profundity, and you fumbled. And you fumbled
because, yeah. And again, I don't think that it's because she didn't know the answer, because shortly after that, before she even wrote the op-ed, she wrote on X, I think that next day or the same day even, that she understood that what she said was incorrect. And she came out and said, I believe that we should support all humanity, and I'm paraphrasing, and that the genocide, or the discussion about the genocide of Jews, is incorrect. So I don't think she didn't understand. I think, again, that she might have been being fed by the wrong people, and what she regurgitated was what she had been fed, and she was trying to walk in the wrong alignment.
Can't do that, though.
Can't do that.
Where's the truth?
Right.
Are we standing on truth?
Right.
Or are we going to continue to walk in the alignment that we know is not right?
Right. It's
for the sake of saving face, or I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know what it was for.
Right. Yeah. It's a learning. And I like you said, she'll come out of it. She's still intelligent and all of that. But yeah, sometimes when we lean on policy over people, we lean in the wrong direction. And I really wanted to have this conversation because I want leaders to walk away knowing that the more you support the people who are supporting you, the greater your organization becomes. Yes, we have paper and we have policies and practices that are there to ensure that our systems run smoothly, but we have to always stay focused on the people who are running the systems. That has to be job one. That has to be job one. And when we get away from that, we are leaning in the wrong direction.
When we get away from the people?
The people. When we put policy over people, when we put practices over people, we're leaning in the wrong direction. It's not we don't need policies. It's not we don't need practices, but we need to always have at our core, as a core tenet, the compassion for people as we are leading. Because leadership is influence. Mm-hmm. Management is that policy and practice and making sure that people are where they're supposed to be according to a schedule, right?
Mm-hmm.
So both are necessary, but don't put the management, the policies over the people. Because you have to always remember that the policies are the people are the ones who are going to help drive your organization. And if they are fully supporting you, they're going to come in alignment with the policies and practices because they trust you and you have shown yourself as credible.
And your character has gotten you to a place of a greater influence because people believe in your character. They see you that I use your word, you're integrous.
That's correct.
Not saying you're perfect, but you have integrity.
That's right.
And the things that you do, listen, you model it well.
Exactly.
You model what you're communicating well. So in leadership, when you begin to model what you communicate well, your integrity should increase.
That's correct. Exactly. Yep.
And Jesus said, you talked about the word compassion.
Yes.
One of the things that Jesus, he was from God who was love, but the text says he had compassion on the people. because he saw they were sheep without a shepherd. So he was driven by that emotional quotient that he had and developed over time. Now, take us through an emotional quotient booster assessment. What does that look like? If you can share, just when I'm trying to become better as a person and I do not want to increase my emotional quotient, how do I increase my emotional quotient? Let me ask that.
It's individual, but first, again, it's figuring out where you're starting. And I got about 4 minutes past it, and then I have to go.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, not right now. But I have another. I'm actually interviewing.
You're busy
this morning. Yes, But to just add a little meat to your question, to the beauty of growing in emotional intelligence is something that you can work on every day. But first of all, you have to know where you are. What is your self-awareness? What's your self-regulation, social awareness, social regulation? Where are you related to those components? Where are you related to your motivation? And then you go from there and work on building that. And so the first thing is understanding what it is, understanding when it shows up, when your amygdala is rising, recognizing that, being able to be more, have more sensitivity when you're in certain environments, and increasing your social awareness helps to increase your social regulation. But some people don't even understand that when they walk in the room, they're making people uncomfortable because of their posture. And so the more you stop and take a lens into where you are and what changes you need to make, the more you're able to make those adjustments and grow your emotional quotient.
Got you.
Yeah.
Listen, we're not out of talk, but guess what? We're out of time.
Yes.
And if you want these wonderful services that you offer, go to worldclasstraining.net.
That's correct.
And when they get to your website and get to worldclasstraining.net, what are some of the things or services and products can they find?
Yes. So yes, the all of our leadership and professional development programs are listed there. Time management, public speaking skills. We have an online component for that as well now. We have personality assessments, systems thinking, the art of conflict resolution, as just a small menu of the professional development programs. We have a program called Intentional Leadership, which helps you to grow your team's leadership capacity and abilities. And then, of course, our books are Unpacking AGAPE, the 7 languages of intentional leadership, and What Would Barack Do? Inspiring presidential tools for the leader in you. And of course, I also offer fitness and professional development as well, because that's been my baby for a long time. So it's like,
wow.
So yes,
many things that you offer as you saw in 2024. Hey, y'all, I've been trying to get her to write a new book, but the book title that I wanted to write, I think it's got pushed to the back burner. Are we going to get a new workbook? Are we going to get a new book in 2024?
I'm not promising 2024, but something. I will be writing another one. I enjoy the spirit of writing and sharing information. So I'm sure another one is coming. But I like to be inspired to put something out. So yeah, it will come. It will come. But for now, we got Unpacking AGAPE and What Would Barack Do? Go grab them.
Go grab those books.
And you can also be a part of this Free to Soar movement. These t-shirts are on sale as well on the site, as well as the calendars, the journals, the whole. You can get the whole everything. It's all there for you. Yes.
It's all there for you. And follow you on social media where? Yes. Where we follow you?
Facebook, the World Class Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And I'm just kind of getting started with TikTok a little bit, but
yes,
you can go there as well. But yeah, right now I'm very active on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. Yes.
Gotcha. Worldclasstraining.net on all of those, correct?
Yes, sir. World Class Training, the World Class Training Institute.
I'm sorry, World Class Training Institute.
Yes.
Well, look, folks, our hour has come and gone, and Dawn is like, wow, we do this, y'all, and we're getting better at it. and we want to continue to develop at it. I thank y'all for tuning in and getting in here with us.
Yes.
Understanding starvation versus sustainability. It's about what you eat and what you trust. And if you're standing on truth, you can trust what's truth if you're standing on truth.
Exactly. Yes.
All
Thank
right.
you so much, Pastor, for having me on your show this morning. Capri Cares, I listen when I'm not on, and you're doing an amazing job. Keep up the great work and helping to uplift our community and our society, and to be better in the space of mental health. It's an important walk. So thank you for everything that you do.
Gotcha. And as we say, y'all know that I care, and what, Don?
Care that I know.
Yes, Capri Cares. Until next time, peace and blessings, y'all.